Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today on Expedition Networking, we have Christopher Salem. He's an executive coach, corporate trainer, and professional speaker. And mentors C-suite business leaders, entrepreneurs, sales professionals to help them build and protect their brands by raising their level of influence as trusted advisors to maximize their results. He also works with companies to create an interdependent work environment and thriving culture through a growth mindset foundation, effective communication, transparent leadership, and higher engagement. He's got some books. His book, Master Your Inner Critic, Resolve the Root Cause, Create Prosperity. That was an international bestseller in 2016. He's also a co-author of a recent edition of Master the Art of Success, which he did with Jack Canfield, and many of you are familiar with Jack. He has got a weekly radio show, Sustainable Success. Let me say that again, Sustainable Success, which is part of the Voice America influencer channel. Chris is also accomplished business and emotional intelligence strategist, award-winning author, certified mindset expert, and the list goes on and on and on. So Chris, welcome to the program.
Frank, thank you so much for having me today.
You have done a lot. And these things just don't happen. I guess if we could kind of go through your story and, where it started, I guess what do you want to be when you grow up? When you're in high school, you didn't say, hey, I want to do this, or maybe, I don't know.
Well, I originally, when I was growing up, I thought I was going to become a baseball player, but that didn't happen. But nonetheless, almost. But with that being said, what I like to do to kind of paint the picture of when you look at success, sometimes you have to now look at some of the things that didn't work, the challenges, the obstacles that you have, because really this is where success really takes off, in the future is what you go through that was not working, or the things that were not working in your life that were preventing you from achieving a certain amount of success. So, one of the things that I could say that when growing up, I always had a good work ethic. I got that from my father and my mother. Both were very hard workers. I had started my first job when I was 12 years old. I was picking up baseballs and softballs at a batting cage, making 50 cents an hour.
There you go.
But nonetheless, one of the good things that I did have from an early age was I was a saver. So meaning that while most kids might have taken that 50 cents and spent it on candy or soda or whatever that was back then, and then we're talking about the late 70s, early 80s at that point, I would save that money. And, so I began to kind of look, I had that kind of trait of saving. So that was a good thing. But nonetheless, there were a lot of things that were working against me as I became a teenager and went to college. And a lot of this had to do with my relationships, and it started with myself. I didn't really have a high level of confidence with myself, even though I would have projected that otherwise. And why that was the case was for a few reasons. One, when I was a little boy growing up, going through my teen years, my dad, while he had a great work ethic, was always busy traveling. So he was out there building his business, over in Asia. And my dad grew up poor. So my dad's goal was to never be poor. He was going to be successful, whatever it took. And as a result of that, there's sacrifices. And those sacrifices meant that he was not around the family. And obviously, because of the pressures of growing a business, he was not faithful to my mother. Obviously, wasn't really a great father to me and my brother. And because of that disconnect, I grew up with this need for validation. I didn't know it at the time. And this need for validation means that you don't feel like you no matter what you do, that you feel that you're good enough, that you're not acknowledged enough. So that really led me down a pattern of codependency, and what in this case, codependency and always looking to be perfect, that I had to be the best. I had to have, the best, output of whatever I was working on. And because of those traits, I had passive aggressive behavior in terms of my communication. So that you could see how that could really cause a real bottleneck in any relationship. So I would start off strong, and then it would become crashing down. And a lot of these things worked against me because I would exhaust people through my codependent behavior. I demanded a lot from people that failed me, according to me, with my expectations. But all of these things were necessary that I had to go through to really begin to look at that. Why am I not having the success like I think I am? I'm a good saver. I can make money because I was making money, but then I would sever those relationships, and then that money source would end, and then I'd have to start over again, do it again. Didn't matter if whoever I worked for. Wouldn't matter if I started my own business, because I did it all during that time. Only over a period of time, it would come to an end. So I said to myself, why is this happening? Why am I having these successes and then they become failures? And and the codependent in me would always look to the outside to say it was everyone else. It was your fault. It was the universe's fault, life in general. But it was the defining moment for me was my father when he was dying of cancer at the age of 56. And my dad, I believe, died from a result of his own limiting beliefs and his emotional demons that manifested itself in the cancer. My dad, again, pursued money and not really lived a life according to his purpose and passion. That was the message I got. So it was for the first time I had this clarity that I never had before. And that was during that time I said, I have to go within to find out what has been blocking me, what has caused me to ride this roller coaster of life and business up to this point. How do I get off the ride? And how do I find a way to develop a success foundation? Didn't know what I was going to do, didn't know how to go about it. But that was the defining moment. And it was at that point that I went on a journey that I've been now doing for almost 23 years now, that allowed me to get out of the problem into the solution, to eradicate my limiting beliefs, which I did through meditation and journaling, which I've been doing for 23 years, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It allowed me to identify the things that were blocking me and what I had to do from within to remove them. And when I was able to develop better success patterns, like new habits and disciplines, and establish a foundation, it began to change my level of confidence, began to change my self-esteem. It began to change how I communicated to myself and other people. It changed how I made more swifter decisions, more informed decisions, and how I took calculated risks. Now, as a result of this, I began to get involved in investing. I started investing in real estate. The money that I did save up to that point, because I was always a good saver, even though my money sources would stop, and then I'd have to restart. I began now to start to change that. I began to invest in real estate. I began to invest in startup companies, invest in, traditional stocks, mutual funds, preferred stocks, that type of thing. And I began to have success. And in one of those companies that I invested in over 13 years ended up going public. And I made a lot of money doing that. Now, then again, along that ride, I also lost money. I invested in another company back in 2006, and it was a great concept. Two of the guys that were involved were from MIT. And obviously what happened next? Financial crash.
Yeah.
Robert Crandall was on the board of this company. The guy who worked for American, it was the chairman of American Airlines at the time. Nonetheless, it went under. All that money I invested in that company down the tubes. But with that being said, that's part of the game. But yet I didn't react. I didn't react in a way that I would have under my old mindset. I would have been furious. I would have been angry. I would have been living in this fight or flight mode. I would have went back to my addictive patterns that I used to do, because I had a problem with alcohol and drugs. and sexual addiction during the time before I made this change. I began to look at this as a learning experience and say, okay, these things happen. I've learned something from this, but I'm going to step up to the plate and I'm going to do it again. And I did. In this day, I've had another company that went, was sold, made a lot of money. And I'm still currently now today invested in two companies. I wouldn't say they're startups now, but they're, they're one company's about 3.5 years in. And I always was a great salesperson. So, I spent a number of years in sales. I'm an executive coach. I've been doing that for 10 years. So I've been able to take that work ethic and this new frame of mind and be able to really add value. And that's what I'm committed to. I give without expectation, but I receive without resistance, meaning that when I give to someone from empathy, I'm more of an example and a resource. I'm not out there expecting anything, but yet it comes back from wherever it comes from. And I receive it 100% with no resistance and from gratitude. And the fact that I've been living in that way now for the last 23 years, I've had my ups and downs, but I never reacted to them. I was not on that emotional roller coaster anymore. I began to be in the middle. And because of my way of controlling my emotions to see the positive, to see the growth and the learning from whatever experience I was going through with my success, I became more. And the more I became, the more value that I could give. And this is what has led me to living what I call a prosperous life. It's not just the amount of money I have or the wealth. That's only a part of it. It's the freedom to be who I am and to serve my purpose, to be a resource and an example for others to do for themselves. That's my purpose, to inspire people to do that for themselves. That's spending time with my family. I treasure my family, my wife, my son. I love taking care of my well-being. I dress my well-being on the 8 pillars of wellness. That is making sure that I don't go back to codependent behavior. I'm always in interdependent behavior. That means I emotionally have to take care of my well-being. That's my mental state and my state of mind. Physical well-being, I exercise, I eat right, everything in moderation. My financial wellness, I have no debt. I haven't had any debt in almost 14 years. Now, if I ever acquire any debt in a good way to leverage, if I get back more into real estate again, okay, that's different.
Sure.
But I don't have credit cards. I don't have car payments. I don't have a mortgage. So those are things that I addressed at that time. And then, there's an occupational wellness, environmental wellness, and intellectual wellness. When I can find harmony, which I have, I've been able to align my wellness and my wealth principles together in harmony to become more prosperous. And that, to me, is the definition of success. It's not about how much money you have in the bank, because you don't take that with you when you leave this world. What you take is the memories and the difference that you made in people's lives from your example. So hopefully I answered that question. I know that was long-winded.
No, I think that's the important part, is talking about people's journeys. We tend to look at the end result. Wow, that guy's lucky. He just, he kisses butt. It's, all these things, and marginalize the work that goes into it. We don't see it. You
don't see that. It's like the iceberg, right? You see the results, but you don't see what went into all the struggle. In this case, I never looked at it as struggle. I looked at it as part of the process.
Yeah. To me, that's a fascinating story. And, I love the line. Well, I've said forever, give without expectation, receive without resistance. That's new. Can you elaborate on that just a bit?
Yeah. I'll give you a story to illustrate this point.
Please.
I think this would be great for the listeners here. See, a lot of people don't usually have a problem giving, but a lot of people have a hard time receiving.
Yeah.
And when I say receiving, it's not just money. It could be a compliment. It could be like somebody wants to help you. Doesn't matter. But what happens when you deny something that is being given to you? You think you're doing the right thing, but actually you're not only denying yourself, you're denying the person that is being gracious to give something to you. And perhaps you're also denying through energy people that are around you. So I'll give you a good a great point of how this works. And this was recent, actually. This happened the year before COVID. It was the summer of 2019. And I remember I had to go meet a woman who ran a leadership group. She was a realtor, and she ran this leadership group, and they were looking for keynote speakers. And she wanted to meet with me to see if I could put together something that they would consider me and hire me to be their speaker. And she says, can you meet me at Starbucks? And I said, sure. So I went to Starbucks. I had my car in the shop that day. And then I said, okay, I'm going to take my truck. So I took my truck. I parked in the Starbucks parking lot, and I parked. And there was a guy that was parked next to me that was slightly like kind of slanted, like, you know, he wasn't. And in my mind, something came to me and said, I hope this guy doesn't like back out and clip me in the back, you know, because I have an 8-foot bed truck. And I'm going, okay, you know. And then I said, all right, never mind. I'll check my email, because I was early, because I was, you know, I've gotten there 15 minutes early. I figured I'd just check some email before I go in to meet this woman. So the guy starts to back up slowly, and then finally I felt this little nudge, and I'm like, oh my God, he hit me. So I got on my truck. I come out, and he's trying to like back out again. And like I don't think he even knew he even, you know, clipped me. And I said, whoa. He says, oh, what's wrong? I said, you hit my car. He goes, oh, is that what I hit your? I said, yes. And it was not a big deal. It was like a little, you know, scratch, you know, something that if I spent, even if I did this, and I'm not an expert in that area, but I probably could have buffed this out in maybe an hour and a half, or maybe at very least took it to a body shop, and it would have cost $400 or $500 or something, whatever it would have cost. The guy was very well dressed. He was an Indian fellow. And he said, I'm very sorry. I did not see it. And I said, well, it's okay. I noticed you were slightly slanted the way you parked, and it was just, you know, misjudgment. It happens to all of us. I mean, it's not a problem. I totally understand. And he goes, I understand if you have to call the police to file a report, but I have an important meeting and I have to be there. And I said to myself, okay, listen, how about take your license, write it in, because I don't know if there could be other damage. Yeah, there very well could be. There's always something could be hidden.
Sure.
Probably unlikely. So I took his license, wrote it down, and he said, listen, I want to make this worthwhile to you because you are been so nice about this. I want to give you $300 that I have in my wallet for this. Now, somebody would have said, oh, you don't have to do that. I'll just take your license. I'll file it through the insurance. Everything will be fine. Nonetheless, I said, thank you. That was very nice of you. I would be happy to receive your $300. It wasn't like I needed the $300. It wasn't like, oh my God, I need $300. It was that I was accepting his gratitude of offering. I was receiving. Now, flash forward, he went on his way. I ended up finding out there was no additional damage. I was able to buff things out with the help of a guy that works in a body shop. We took care of it. No big deal. Nonetheless, I go in, I had my meeting with this woman. I actually told her the story. And she was telling me about, what they needed for a speaker. She was telling me how things were in her real estate business, blah, 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 blah. Flash forward 2 weeks later, she gives me a call. No, I think it was 3 weeks later. 3 weeks later. And she goes, hey, Chris, I just wanted to give you a call to give you the good news. I want to let you know we've selected you as the speaker at our leadership event. And we really love the idea of what you were proposing to talk about. I just wanted to let you know, the date is this date. And again, blah, all these different things. I said, wow, thank you so much. This is wonderful. And she goes, oh, before I forget, I wanted to tell you something. And I said, what? She goes, remember when you told me that story about the guy clipping you in the parking lot before you came to see me? And I said, you were telling me about this give without expectation, receive without resistance thing. And I said, yeah. Well, it's so funny that you said that. And I'm really grateful for it. And now I really believe in what you said. And I said, well, what are you talking about? She goes, well, remember I told you I told you a little bit about my real estate business. And, I told you on average what I do in terms of production and all that. And I said, yeah. She goes, last week, I closed 2 homes during that week. I've never done that before.
That's big in real estate. Yeah, that's big.
And she goes, and one of them kind of caught me off guard, she said. One, I had an idea, but one really caught me off guard. And I really want to just tell you that I'm sensing, I fully believe in what, and I'm going to commit to that statement and live my life by that. See, she was in direct proximity to me. And just like that gentleman was, he could have touched somebody else in some good fortune. So what I'm saying, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen right away. It could happen in 3 months, 6 months. It's just saying that that principle that I've lived by has never failed to deliver. Doesn't mean life is always going to happen on your terms, and you're going to have setbacks and challenges. You have to embrace them as what you're going to become. You got to look at them as blessings to what you're going to become, because you will become more if you commit to controlling what you can and learning how to let go of what you can't. That is the whole underlying theme of that give without expectation, receive without resistance. Too many people are caught up in the things they can't control, and they're trying to control what they can't control. And then they wonder why they struggle, why they're angry, why they're frustrated, overwhelmed, and you name it. So that is, to me, a part of success in what we're talking about here.
Okay. You're obviously a giver. Are there charities or anything that you're involved with?
Yes, I'm the co-founder and CEO of a 501c3 called Empowered Fathers in Action.
Okay.
And what we do is we primarily first started off in helping fathers, men in general, showing them how they can become better fathers, and really understanding that the role of the father is just not a provider, but it plays an instrumental role in the development of their children. You know, I know for me, if my father had been there for me, I may have not gone through all those things. I would have maybe had more confidence, higher self-esteem, but I didn't get that, which, you know, it's very common in a lot of people when they grow up. But with that being said, we've evolved into helping create interdependent family structures in terms of behavior and communication, so that parents can learn how to overcome their own limiting beliefs to be better examples for their children, because children learn from what they observe, like what I observed. Yeah. My codependency was a result of what I observed in my own household. So with that being said, when we can do that, we can create future leaders in our homes, for their future families, in their communities, and in their businesses, whatever that mean. If you work for somebody or you have your own business. So that's my nonprofit, but I do get involved in contributing to some other nonprofits as well. Make-A-Wish. Matter of fact, my good friend who recently passed away, Frank Shankowitz, who was the founder of Make-A-Wish, he recently passed away about 3 weeks ago. But Frank had been not involved in Make-A-Wish in quite some time, because he had sold it to an organization that took it over. But nonetheless, he was the founder of that organization, and he did so much to where it became and where it is now today. So I still contribute there, and always want to help a child that wants to have that last wish. So with that being said, those are things that I'm committed to, things that are helping people to help themselves. Those are the things that are really of interest to me.
Okay. I guess to kind of wrap up, share a little bit about how the audience might help you and how they could get a hold of you. The best way to get a hold of you, what would be a good referral, or what opportunities you're looking for? Or...
Sure. Well, first of all, before I mention the type of opportunities, the best place to reach me would be, just check out my website at ChristopherSalem.com. You can send an email to me at chris@ChristopherSalem.com. There's no obligation for anything. I don't sell anybody anything. I just like to get to know people and find out who you are. It's all about relationships first. I would say for opportunities, the people I can help are the ones that are, either have had success or have not had success, but yet are desiring to do something different to improve the quality of their personal life in alignment with their business, and helping to really scale that. So those are the people I can help overcome limiting beliefs, build a stronger success foundation. I could also help you scale your business in why you do what you do versus what you do, by becoming a trusted advisor. So that not only means individually, but that also means your business. So it doesn't matter if your business is one person or if it's 10,000 people, it doesn't matter. If you're the CEO, I help to build those brands simultaneously. And we leverage that through, your areas of strength. That could be speaking, that could be radio shows, podcasts, TV, different platforms that will make you more compelling to your audience, so that people now want to come to you and work with you and then refer you. So I showed them how to build their businesses from that and how to grow it through referrals.
Great. Christopher Salem, everybody, check him out at www.christophersalem.com. I will get that in the show notes. Chris, thanks for your time today. This was great.
Frank, thank you so much for having me.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.